clockwise we're losing some people here. I'm going to go clockwise. James, if you don't mind going first, and then we'll go to Caryl, and then Jennifer. I know your video's not on, but if you can hear me. So name, how long you've been in real estate, and your company. Not necessarily in that order, though.
Sure. Thanks for having me, by the way. Nice to see you. James Diastis, I'm the team leader of Motor Group at Compass. I've been in business selling real estate for 12 years. So I actually saw the last time things were weird in 2009. So yeah, 12 years. I've been at properties. I'm now at Compass. Got a team of 8. And
cool.
We're banding together. We Zoom together twice a week, so we stay connected. And yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Cool, Jaime. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, sorry about that. Larry, can't afford good Wi-Fi, so it's going in and out.
It's because he buys all those expensive blue suits. That's why.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. And this is recording too, so give that guy a hard time.
Yeah. But my name is Jaime Luevano, Matt Larissy Group. I joined his team about a year and a half ago. Went to college with Larissy. I originally started with Baird and Warner out in Oak Park. And me and him always kind of kept in touch as I joined the industry. Obviously, very successful. So it was always me reaching out to him, kind of, learning and pick his brain a little bit. And as he continued to get a little bit busier, he kind of reached out to me and said if I would consider joining his team. And I grew up in the area, but it's just a different animal out here. So with him, it was a perfect opportunity to really, get in all these buildings and really just learn from a real hustler, really. So, it's a lot that he asks from the team, but that's kind of my personality. So it fits well with me and kind of where, I want to go with everything.
Beautiful. Caryl, go ahead.
I am with Compass in the Lincoln Park office and have been practicing real estate for about 17 years and really specialize in the luxury end of the market. And I think collaboration is really important, especially since we're so locked down. It's always nice to connect with other brokers and see what you guys are up to. Yeah.
All right, Stephany, go ahead. Just quick 10, 15 seconds who you are, how long you've been in the business, and then your company, your brokerage.
Yeah, thank you for putting this together. So I apologize, everyone, if you could hear the echo here. But thanks for putting it together, Andy. Like Caryl said, I'd love to learn from every one of you guys. I'd love to also share what I've learned over 16, 17 years of being in the business. My name is Stephany Oliveros, Holstein with Compass Real Estate. I have a small group of, a team of where there's 5 of us, 3 agents and 2 sort of back-end marketing operational people, and happy to be here.
Cool. Jennifer, I know your video is not on, but if your audio is, just quick
Jennifer, I've been working as a broker for 6 years, and I'm with Jameson Sotheby's.
Very cool. See, I like it. That was perfect. And then I'll allow the partners really quick, but let me kind of frame this real fast because I know most of you have been to a handful of our events, and some of you know our preferred partners, and some of you don't. I also know that anybody who's had any small success in real estate is used to being harassed by vendors. I know that constantly. So I just want to assure that's not going to happen now. Look, nothing what we do with real producers, not just in Chicago, but around the country, is even possible. As much as the realtors like our platform, love the publication, love the events, I can't do what I do without them. So they're not here today to sell themselves. I mean, of course, they'd be glad to connect with you after if they can help in any way. But the reason that I invited them on the call today is because as you are experts in your field, in the real estate realm, they are experts in their field. And I just believe that they can be a great resource to you, just in working through the challenges and unique obstacles that we've had over the past few months, and then what they're going to see, going through the end of 2020. So I'll start in order that people logged on. So Patrick, if you wouldn't mind going first, and then Crystal, and then Mia, and then we'll jump into the meat and potatoes of this sucker. So Patrick, go ahead, man.
Yeah, okay. My name is Patrick Loftus, as you can see in the lower left. I am a real estate lawyer. That's the vast majority of what I do. I've been practicing law and handling real estate transactions since 2004, which is longer than I'd like to admit. But yeah, that's what I do. I work with realtors. My mom was a realtor, my dad was a builder, so it's just kind of in my blood.
Cool.
Awesome. Crystal, fire away.
Yeah, so Crystal Kurzynski, out of Guaranteed Rate. Been there for about 9 years. Just happy to be here with you guys to kind of hear, how the changes to the industry have been affecting you, and be available for any questions you guys have for changes that I've had on our side. Just kind of trying to feel out how we can support you as a realtor community. And yeah, feel free to fire away any questions you have on my side.
Go ahead, Mia.
Hi, I'm Mia Hable. I'm with Artfully Arranged Staging. I'm a home stager, and I do both vacant and occupied stagings here in Chicago and some of the surrounding areas. So just basically, to be truthful, nothing much has changed for me. I'm still a one-woman show, so just I'm keeping staging.
Yep, that's perfect. So, yeah, I would just like, James, if you don't mind kicking us off, if you don't mind doing like a quick 2 to 3 minute share on an update of what you're experiencing. And also, I mean, this is a lot of these calls just kind of take a mind of their own. I realize I'm going to do very little talking from here on out. The more I talk, the less people gain value from this. So, James, if you don't mind, just kind of take it away. I mean, and you can do anything from a market update to new strategies that you've implemented, maybe something that was working before COVID hit and is not working now, and how you've transitioned and pivoted. And then, you can ask each other questions. You can, if there's any questions that people have in their heads that are curious to ask the group, that's fine. So, James, if you don't mind sharing first, and I will shut up.
All right. Thank you. So super strange times we've had. I mean, it's like, every day is something new, and yet we're the professionals that have to advise on the unknown, right? So I think that's been the biggest challenge, is trying to feel this out and try to be the voice of experience in something that you've never experienced. So as I said before, I've got a team of agents, and, we've been feeling our way through this. Felt like the year started off super strong, as you guys probably have experienced. And then, just kind of an emergency brake situation. But, there were buyers that were still being opportunistic and trying to look for that COVID discount, which I'm happy to say I don't think exists. I think there might have been some sellers that were in a pinch, and maybe they bid at the first that low ball offer, that COVID discount offer that they saw. But overall, I don't think I've seen this drop in real estate prices. I think actually year over year, I think we're up from last year as a whole, something around 4%. So it was just a matter of everything being put on hold, and so it was concerning from a running a business standpoint, an income standpoint, an expense standpoint. So I had to shift the budget and trim some fat in certain ways. But I added some light items to the budget in order to sort of differentiate and get ahead of it. I think there's a flight to quality when you have these downturns, and I think that people really want to work with the best out there. So I think there's opportunity to spend money in smart ways, maybe shift money to allocate those funds in ways where you can stand out. And so that's kind of what we've been focusing on. And I think it's kind of paying off in what we're seeing with some new business trickle in. And I feel like I'm back to busy again. It's just, back to busy, and it's still kind of weird, right? So we're trying to make it feel as normal as possible, being responsible. But I feel like we have a window of opportunity here for another call it maybe 3 to 5 months, where we have just a lot of business to take advantage of before we head into those, the later months of the year. And the potential unknown of that. So I don't know, does that sound like it resonates with you guys? Are you guys kind of feeling that same sentiment?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different on the upper end of the market. I think a lot of people fled to their secondary bunkers and have not necessarily come back. And so it's much quieter, even though those are easier properties to show because they're vacant. I don't know, I just think there's a lot of indecision about people wanting to leave Illinois. I think that that's part of it as well. And certainly we're seeing a resurgence in suburban markets, which I don't necessarily cover, you know, as a primary source of my business. So I think it's all over the place. Someone was just jumping in.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, if you get a second home, it's probably been a good place to hang out lately. And I know some of my clients are the same way. I think it's important for me to mention our sweet spot is probably that like, $500,000 to $800,000 condo range. So I can certainly understand that if you've got that second home, you're probably there. Which are some of our clients, but our sweet spot is more that $500,000 to $800,000 range. And I think those people are more or less just working from home here in the city. Yeah, I hear you. Listen, if I had a place up in New Buffalo, I'd probably be there. I would have been there for a couple months, to be honest with you.
People are literally gone
for sure.
for months at a time, and just as they were starting to think about coming back. Black Lives Matter. We had a lot of violence in the city, and what was it? Because of whatever. Anyway, it was disruptive to people coming back.
Sure.
I'm hearing a lot in the Gold Coast and Streeterville, a resurgence of violence as well. So I just feel like we're at a very precarious place right now, and there is a lot of unknown. Certainly low interest rates have been a driving factor, but I also think that so much of the refi is making it harder for the pace of the lending process to go as smoothly maybe as before. And Crystal might have something to add to that, but anyway, I mean, I'm hopeful. I don't mean to sound like I'm not, but it's very unknown.
Yeah, for us too, like we started the first 3 months, like March, April, May, changing a lot of things in our processes, we notice a big, definitely a big jump in activity right now, June, as we're, people are making their decisions and realizing I don't like this situation where I am in right now. So that magnified, and I feel like now they've made their decisions of either letting go of their second homes, right? And a lot of those maybe in downtown area as well. So that's been a actually kind of slow market for us right now. The good thing about my business is we're pretty diversified, that we work in our sphere. So we work on different neighborhoods, different areas of the city, and suburban markets as well. So we notice a big change definitely in downtown activity, right? Those that have these like $300,000 to $500,000 second, third homes that they have for either their children, right, who go to school in downtown area, or having it as a pretty much as a second home. So I don't know if you guys have noticed that as well.
You're selling more of those price points, Stephany, for people to?
Well, we have those listings right now, but they're just taking a lot longer, and we priced it also before COVID. So I think that kind of made a difference as well. And a lot of these owners own them free and clear, so they're not in a rush to either reduce their prices or even, find a tenant for them. So we're kind of like sort of stuck right now and just waiting for better activity, pretty much. We have at least like 2 or 3 of those that are downtown, but like James said, you've got the 500 to 800,000 in like West Town, right, that are moving faster, and then Lakeview, of course, or Glenview. So we're kind of working all over in these areas.
Mm-hmm. It's a good time to sort of focus, as you started the year, Stephany, with processes. For those of us with Compass, we get so much technology that's kind of thrown at us on a daily basis, and a lot of times I try to put it on the back burner because it's just too much to process. But lately, I've been really trying to use more of the amazing technology that we've got. So I think that that's been a good outcome, to have a little bit of a break almost. Client expectations have shifted, although they're awakening a little bit now. I think that the party's over in terms of their patience. They kind of want to know why their places haven't sold yet. So
yes,
yeah.
agree. Yeah, you're right about the technology. There's so much that is actually provided to us. So spending time on learning all these things, right, to get us better, is another set of I think challenge, but it's a blessing too, right? I think I'm just catching up on all of those right now, because we have our own team processes, but at the same time, adding these technologies that would help us really, either get new business, right, or just be better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
How
have
do you
Sorry.
how do you sort out, like, if you've got all these different options in terms of technology? I mean, how do you really even decide which ones that you want to try to incorporate into your business?
For me, because especially with Compass, like there's so much, right? And I think it's great. Whatever is the best tool that we can use to get new business right now and keep the relationships, right? So example, Compass started having these seller recommendations, which, allows us to determine who are we going to be reaching out to right now in our database. Something that would possibly immediately give us new business. That's what I'm trying to just focus on. And I know, COVID, of course, when the shutdown started, it's all about just connecting, right? Not selling. So I think all the social media templates and communication and content that was being shared to us, I was focusing on that. So anything that can either keep the relationship going or get us new buyers and sellers, that's the main focus. And then they said, be okay with chaos. And then, organize after, right? It's kind of hard to really put that in practice, because I don't like chaos also, but that's kind of how the business works, right? Get as many people that are most qualified to buy and sell right now, and then, figure out how to help them and organize your day, with all the activities involved in helping them.
And I think, Patrick, to answer that question as well, I think that there is a plan that you have for each of your listings. So you use the technology to promote those listings. And then secondarily, I think, is promoting ourselves. And so there are all those different tools. Stephany alluded to a tool. It's AI, it's artificial intelligence, that is scrubbing our CRM to determine who may be thinking about making a move.
Wow.
Sometimes before they know it.
That's terrifying.
It is. I know. It
Cool,
is.
though. Really cool.
And I think your name came up, as a matter of fact.
You looking to buy or sell?
That's good.
Exactly.
As I mentioned earlier, my mom's a realtor, and I'm gonna get divided from Thanksgiving if I don't use her. So sorry, guys.
You should be part of Compass then.
Yeah.
Just moved to Burton Warner, as a matter of fact. So I don't know. I told her to ask into Compass, but moms only listen to sons so much.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, because it sounded like business was kind of as usual, and
Yeah,
I'm thinking that, yeah.
If not more so, maybe right now for me. With you guys doing all your 3D walkthroughs, like virtual tours, I found the realtors have really been pushing the staging on their clients. Like, look, you got to do more than you would have done, because people are really going to spend the extra time looking online before they ever come in. It's not just going to be a cursory glance, like, oh, let's look at this place online, and if we like it, we'll go in, we'll check out the open house or whatever. They're really like studying them before they go in and before they make an appointment to go visit the listing. And then they're really like kind of digging in, really looking through all the closets and making sure that all the storage space and all the outdoor space is really exactly what they want. And of course, outdoor space is what everyone wants right now. So definitely like recommending, like, you can't just like power wash the deck and that's it. Like, you really got to go the extra mile.
Do you think virtual staging has affected your business?
No, because I don't think it has. I don't really advocate for virtual staging because, as you see, like when you go to the house, it's just not the same. And then you're like, well, what size bed is this? And what can fit in here? And how big is this couch? Whereas like if you take the time to venture out of your safe sphere and go to look at this house, like, you want to know what's in there. And so I just think that that's not really that advantageous. And I'm not noticing my realtors really doing that as much. But I actually had a question for you guys. Are you guys noticing that like any of your new listings, like, are people people are nervous, or are they nervous? And have you noticed them like they've waited this whole time and they finally put it on the market and they're like wanting you to kind of like jump the gun, like get it on the market like yesterday? Like, are you feeling rushed? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little rushed.
I have not felt rushed, actually. Initially, when people wanted to come and see a listing, this is kind of not exactly an answer to your question, but I felt like, as a respect to one another, the idea of showing a listing is life-threatening in many ways. And I was just blown away at how unprepared these people were coming through a listing. I had a 23-room property and walked through, and I asked a question of the potential buyer, and they were completely clueless about what they were seeing. And I thought, really? So I think the importance is they're not going to come through unless it's serious. That should be the bar that we set as realtors for one another. This virus is not going away. It hasn't changed at all in the last 3 months. We've changed somewhat, and I think people are starting to let their guard down, which is dangerous. We're seeing spikes all over the country. So I think we're going to continue to see some virtual. I've sold property. One of Matt Larissey's, where did he go? One of his listings, a sight unseen. So I think we're seeing some of that as well.
Yeah, I agree with the sight unseen part. Two of the buyers I put contracts on, just last week. One came from Denver, and sight unseen. He just came here just to do the inspection, which he just did because I advised him to be here, but he'd rather just, not have to fly. But, I feel like it's an older home, so he has to be able to see it. And, what I noticed, like, people already look, and maybe because it's the price point that we work on, they've already made a decision that they want to put an offer on that property when they go schedule it. And it was just that last step of just feeling the home, but they've already decided where to put the bed, where to, how they're going to be using the yard.
Yes, you're finding the videography and your photos are really like that's where people are making the decision.
Yes. Yes, they make decisions on 2-3 properties right now. You don't even have to. I noticed, like, just lately, the last couple of deals that we have, the average they said is 8 properties, right? But this one's 2-3 properties, and they've decided based on photos and video. And but of course, they still need that guidance from the real estate agent. As we start asking them questions, they realize like there's so much more for them to consider when buying, in addition to just the feel of the home and the floor plan and stuff like that. So yeah.
Do you think there's a legal precedent that we might start to see if people are buying properties sight unsold, Patrick? That, you know, they maybe, I guess it's on their shoulders to make the decision, but.
Yeah, ultimately, you know, doing the proper due diligence, that's on the buyer. You know, that's really when I talk to my buyers, I you know, go through it. I say, look, guys, you were in the property for maybe 30 minutes. You decided to spend $500,000, and that's a crazy notion. And that's why we have this due diligence period. And if you don't, what you need to do is enough inspection, enough evaluation, if it's condo docs, etc., enough so that you feel in your gut that it's worth moving forward. And you know, if you're going to make an offer on a property sight unseen, I mean, you know, get that inspection. I think you were very wise to have your client come and see the property in person, because it always makes for an easier discussion with the client when they've actually when they're actually there with the inspector. Because if we just get the inspection report is ridiculous. It has like 90 action items, and you know, if I were to itemize each one of those and the cost, I'm like, all right, well, we need a $50K discount. That's not at all what we're trying to do. So if you're at the inspection, you have the opportunity to really get a feel for what is significant and what is just fodder for the report.
I had a question for Crystal as well about jumbo loans. I'm hearing from other lenders that there's less availability for jumbo loans.
Yeah, so we've seen, I mean, with guaranteed rate, we have different paths that we can take for those, but we've seen particularly Chase tighten up a lot with their guidelines. Wells has dropped out on us. I think for the more well-qualified borrowers, it's not necessarily a dramatic change. For our self-employed borrowers, there are some additional steps there that, you know, I'm just letting them know up front, hey, let's get in touch with your CPA, because we're going to have to take a couple extra steps that you wouldn't normally have to take. But those are the main changes that we're seeing in that world.
I have a follow-up question for Crystal. I also noticed with buying 3-4 units, the financing has changed on that. Is that correct? Like in terms of down payment required?
You know, there's been a lot of changes that have been rolled out as time has gone on. So I actually would want to check and see the most accurate information, because we're seeing changes every day. Last time that I had checked, it was a 25% down payment. But let me check on that and get back to you.
And I will send everybody's info out after, email addresses.
Yeah.
You know, social security numbers, like Compass apparently is doing with all their technology. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Fingerprints, retina scan.
We got all that, Andy. We've got it.
I know. It's pretty amazing what can be done now. So
the business has changed completely since I got into it. I mean, it's all at a computer. I mean, there's so much technology and so many ways to use it, or not. I mean, of course, we come back to the most important thing is a relationship, which is, you know, high touch, but how to leverage that kind of exposure is changing every day, and, you know, getting better and better, I hopefully.
I'm just curious, and this is anybody, what are like maybe specific things that was maybe you went into with 2020, hey, this is what I'm going to do, this is my marketing plan, blah, blah. And then COVID hit, like what are people doing to sort of just reinvent themselves? And that seems to be working. You know, I mean, and that's open. It can be a strategy. It can be a, hey, or anything that maybe you thought would work that doesn't, and that's been beneficial. Hey, I tried this and it absolutely did not work. So that's just kind of open-ended to everybody.
I'll start. We've done this last year where we look at our numbers really closely, especially expenses, but more so now. And we've learned that we had a lot of wasted, marketing stuff, right? So what I did differently starting mid-March was really look into our numbers every week in terms of what are we spending money on, how can we, improve our expenses pretty much, right? Getting the best people with the best value. And then also we did a lot of targeted mailing campaigns, and certainly more focused on virtual right now, and really utilizing as much technology, right? Social media technology. Lately, I've been trying to learn more about LinkedIn and how to leverage that also. I think it's definitely an untapped market, and just right now starting to just listen on how everyone is pretty much using it, and hopefully I'll get started to really utilize that to build relationships and maintain relationships. So,
Stephany, I can show you how to post one of your listings on LinkedIn if you want help. It's really easy from the MLS.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Live stream or
No,
Zoom?
Just a regular, if you just post the listing, the photos. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the widgets in the MLS.
Nice, okay. I'll ask you about that.
It's easy, yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious if you guys have seen more engagement with your social media now that everybody is at home and not a whole lot to do. Are you finding that, those Instagram accounts and stuff are picking up more comments and views, or do you think that, you're still more focused in your online platforms through Compass or whatnot?
Right now, my assistant is on maternity leave, so I've been trying to juggle my personal Instagram and my business. She did a much better job with the business side of it. It's easy to do personal because you can just do random things.
Right.
And engagement, I would say, is not that much different. You'd think it would be, but I don't think it is. I don't know. I feel like there's a lack of clarity maybe and focus. I don't know about you guys. It's, our days are just up and down, and right now we're focused, we're here, we're present, but there's times where I'll go walk to get water and then switch and do something else, and I start like 5 things. I've got notes all over, and this is being recorded, isn't it? I am focused, and so anyway, I don't know.
Authenticity, right?
We're all
That's
human.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we're all human.
Yeah.
So I've got something to add that our team did that, we were sitting in these think tanks and trying to figure out the next thing, and, how are we going to engage and all this stuff. And yet we were all like,
went good. They didn't like the first one because the first one backed up to like.
I got that.
Multitasking. Close that deal.
Yeah. Nobody ever reads the calendar invite. This is designed to be settled, not driving, and engage with people. We can always do a different one. Anyway, continue your thought, James.
It's all good. It's all good. So, we did come up with some stuff. Nothing nothing that would change the world. We were just trying to connect with people on a very genuine basis. Okay. And people use social media. People use creative ways to do this. We decided to use cookies.
I like
So
it.
we literally bought 500 cookies and delivered them to all of our clients in person, because we had nothing to do. We were sitting around baking sourdough bread, and like half my team, like the majority of my team was binge watching shows. I'm binge watching my daughter and baking sourdough bread and wondering what the hell I'm going to do tonight or tomorrow other than that. And so we're like, let's shake it up. Let's go in a responsible way. We looked like surgeons delivering the cookies, but it was the first time that our clients had interacted with somebody, and it was like a big deal. It went over really well, and we got a ton of business out of it, because now that people are ready and they're talking to other people that are ready, we were definitely top of mind. It was just cookies, all right? It's, nobody's asking us to cure COVID-19, but like, if you just buy some cookies and deliver them to people, like, it's amazing. So I guess my point is, there's all this technology and all this crazy stuff, but it's like, when you really get down to it, if you're just connecting with people in this town, we're very down to earth in Chicago. If you just connect with people in an authentic way and not have any agenda, you're going to be top of mind and you are going to get business. And so that's the smartest thing we did in the past couple months.
When I heard you say cookies, I thought you meant like the ones that we have to
On the internet, yeah.
that we're accepting the cookies.
Oh no! Like,
you go.
Like chocolate chip, like gooey chocolate chip cookies.
Like the lowest tech thing possible. I love it. That's great.
Here, ready? There you go.
Oh,
there you
that's
go.
awesome.
There you have it.
I love it.
Nice.
Now I'm hungry. Thanks.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So that's why I have that background, by the way, because it was just this thing. It was all about cookies, and we were just getting fat on cookies. We had all these leftover cookies, and anyway, yeah, chocolate chip. So we got these cookies. We actually was a Chicago magazine article about the best chocolate chip cookies in Chicago. There was hot chocolate cookies from on Damon Tempesta Market. If you've never been there on Grand Avenue in Westtown, it's this little market. It's like an ode to the old school Italian deli, like a Bari sub kind of place, but they bake their own cookies and they're like this big and they're absolutely delicious. And so that's what we delivered. People loved them. So anyway.
Do you have any sourdough starter?
I do. I do
What do you
starter.
do with it? I mean, what you start it?
I take care of it like a pet. I feed it. It lives in my kitchen. It's a living, breathing thing.
And you can freeze that, You can freeze the starter.
I heard that you can also dry it. Did you know that you can actually dry it and flake it into a container and then bring it back to life later? That's kind of crazy. Anyway, I do have starter. I'm happy to share if anyone would like some.
And was it good? Was the bread good?
The first couple weren't, but I've got it down. I'm proud of it. And now I understand why sourdough is like $12 a loaf. I never could understand why it was so expensive, but now I do, because it's a 19-hour process. That's why. Yeah. So anyway, there's my genius, the cookie. Who would have thought?
Well, you know what? It's actually because we all were eating like crazy, or I shouldn't say were, are.
Right.
And Andy, of course, I always want a donut when I watch your Facebook posts.
been off it for whatever, because I'm not going to go take them to Duncan, and but yeah, once it resumes, we've done a couple, like, just order. We got Do Right, that's good. But yeah, I love that it's just creative. It's like nothing rocket science. Yes, the cookie is the vehicle to connect with people. I think you just wrote my publisher's note for next month, so I appreciate that, man. I'm gonna go look at the recording and glean, pull some gold nuggets out of there. Anybody else getting creative like that, just to stay? That's conversation shifting this way. Anybody else like just getting creative to stay top of mind? I know Stephany too. You mentioned like a direct mail campaign. Is there any, like, are you catering your message to anything specific, or is it just a generic template?
We were focused on, we are still, but kind of tweaking a little bit on expires and for sale by owners. So yeah, we've been tweaking our messaging, being a little bit more about, just informational as opposed to selling, right? And educating about the market, how, and just telling the truth pretty much, right? It might not be the right time for them to sell. That's not always what we're trying to communicate, right? But just start having a conversation with us and we'll help you navigate that. And I think that's the best thing also about this time, right? I think our clients look up to us, on real advice, right? So in addition to what James has mentioned, connecting, we my sphere, most of them are in the medical industry. So, we actually had fun delivering food as well, to the nurses, right, and the doctors that were working in hospitals and treating COVID patients and helping restaurants as well, where we purchased, you know, the lunches, right? And got our clients engaged by, you know, asking for reviews in order, and in return we'll buy, you know, we'll buy a meal for our healthcare workers. So I think, you know, that's what it's all about, right? Little things like that, and connecting without anything in return, asking anything in return, and just trying to be top of mind and giving back to the community. So yeah.
I agree with that. I think that this is not the time to pitch people so much. To educate, I think, is really important. But one of the things that I've certainly noticed, I'm sure anyone who's doing brokerage right now, is so much of the inventory is not available to the public. So there's so much on tan. And so if somebody's looking, they really need a broker now more than ever, you know, because we have to really go and search for that property that they need. Yeah. But no cookies. I did cookies once. I made compass cookies that were like white with the compass slash through them, and put them all in individual cellophane bags with our, like a business card type label, and delivered them to doormen, which it was so much work, but we didn't follow up with the doormen, so nothing happened. But it's a good idea. And we ate a lot too.
We all gained
Yeah.
some pounds.
Yeah. All true. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be having.
I want to ask Patrick, Crystal, and you know, Mia here. How can we help you guys with your businesses, aside from, of course, referrals and stuff like that?
You know, I'm always curious. You know, something that is kind of it's definitely of interest to me, but in terms of like access to statistics and numbers, you know, I'm always curious as to what's going on in the market. You know, there's a couple of agents that I follow on social media, and they'll post graphs and other things, and, you know, comparing year on year, 2019 to 2020, you know, whether it be transaction volume or number of listings. And to me, you know, it doesn't directly benefit my business, other than it brings me more into you know, what is currently happening, instead of, you know, I can kind of live in this lawyer bubble where, you know, I handle the deals that come in, and, you know, if they come in, great. If not, you know, that's fine too. But to have that information available, and then I can share it on, I don't know, maybe I'm just a nerd and I like numbers, but I would find that useful if that is shared more and made more available.
Just reach out, we'll help you.
Do you have anything specific that, you know, neighborhoods or just like general data of what's happening in the market?
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, I like, you know, the neighborhoods are useful, because I think, you know, one thing I'm gleaning from this is that, you know, as we all I think know, is that, you know, Chicago area is a market, but really it's like a conglomeration of, you know, 100 micro markets. So West Town versus Gold Coast versus Loop, whatever it is, it's always useful to know, you know, if I have a client who's like, you know, selling a place in South Loop, you know, I may have different advice for that person. Let's say, you know, an inspection request comes in, they want $2,500 for, you know, stuff that I can't even begin to imagine costs $2,500. Well, if I know that it's a hot market, I go, you know, to hell with this buyer. We're going to offer him peanuts and he's going to take it. Or if I know it's a little bit of a squishy market, I might say, look, you know, I don't know when your next buyer is coming along, and, you know, let's consider this more. That kind of data would be, I think, very useful for me.
That's helpful.
So for me, just kind of like generically, whether you use me or another stager or any stager, I really like to have I consider a true partnership with my realtors. Like sometimes like I get to be the bad guy for you guys, right? So when it comes to like letting your sellers know like, hey, this really needs to happen, like, and they don't like to hear it, right? Like too much stuff, too many toys, too much personal items. You know, you got to get someone in here to fix these cracks in the molding and the ceiling, and you need to repaint. Like I am happy to always be the one to say those like negative things, right? to your clients and present it in like a good way. But like conversely, then I like always say like to my realtors, like, I need you guys to back me up, right? So like when if the client balks, or if the client's like, I'm not going to do that part of it, like I need realtors to always be like, well, don't just take half her advice, like take the whole thing. Otherwise, why are we doing this? Why are we hiring you? Why are we spending money? Why are we rushing this to get on the market? And then also to go along with that, when we rush things to get on the market, I've noticed that in the past like 2 weeks, people have been so nervous to get it back on the market that they have been kind of rushing things and not taking care of like I can do all that I can do staging wise and design wise, but like if you don't call the plumber to recaulk the bathtubs and stop the leak, like that still shows up. Still shows up in photos, still shows up in person if somebody like takes the time to actually schedule the showing to come see the property. And I just feel like that's a real detractor, right? So like you spend all this money,
Totally.
worked all this time to do that, and then the clients are not following through on their end. So I would just say to like you realtors, like check in with them, like make sure that like after I leave, they're still doing what they need to do, because obviously like once I've staged, like it's like hands off, right? Like it's up to you guys. You just kind of follow through with that and make sure that they're keeping up with what they said they would do.
Right.
I would find that helpful.
We've got all Compass people here, so anything you want to know about Compass?
It's so funny. I had 2 people said the link's not working, and I'm like, we'll reschedule you.
What happened to Jennifer?
You know.
Did Jennifer, the link didn't work for her?
Yeah, the link did. She had a showing, so she goes, I'll hop on, but I try to put in the calendar invite that, hey, these are designed to be settled and interactive, and I'll you know, we can do if this goes to like 2-3 minutes over, like that's totally fine. I want to be respectful of everybody else's time as well, but you know, this is your time, so you know what to ask each other, what you want to ask each other.
Yeah, I got a question for Mia.
Yeah.
So we know, you and I, we know, Stephany and other people here know that staging sells. A lot of people don't have that vision to be able to see a space for what it can be and how it can be utilized. But I would love to see the actual data on how quickly a home sells staged versus not staged. If there's any of that national data or local data, I haven't seen it. And I would think that I'm actually kind of shocked that we don't have access to that at Compass, and maybe we will. Maybe Robert Refkin's listening to us right now because of his advanced technology. And I hope he is, because I think that data, you cannot argue with the data, right? It's all subjective. It's all just opinion otherwise. I mean, I can show you, look, here's a couple listings that we staged. They sold super quick. Okay, we do that to you and it's not selling quick. Well, you told me that the staging would sell. Look, I was basing this off the data. Like, the data doesn't lie. More listings sell quicker with staging than not. But that data is something that I'd love to get my hands on. And I don't know if you have it.
I actually don't. That I have to say that's one thing that I am not the best about. However, there is like a National Staging Association, and like every other year they put out the statistics. It's clearly not something we as stagers are as up to date on as you guys. I'm not a numbers person. I'm all about visual, right? Like it's all about visual representation for me. So anytime I do a staging project, like I always submit, like I'm like, here's a mood board. Like this is what's going in your house. Like, do you like it? Like, if you don't, now's the time to say. Once it goes in, like that's what's in.
You know, I think the hard part about that as well is that if it's not staged and then it's staged and then it sells, you don't know whether it was a worse market at the front end or if it doesn't sell after the staging, it's just because there's maybe something else wrong with it. I think staging really gives you great perspective and scale, and I think staging is brilliant, especially when you've got a tough room. It's like you don't know how the room's going to lay out, or that a king bed really does fit in particular space with nightstands, and
that's the key.
It really is. I feel like those are key. And then when you have a focal point like a fireplace or whatever that's kind of awkwardly located, it makes it so much easier to present when there is a visual. So yeah, I think at one point I think there was a statistic that you could get $4 back for every dollar spent on staging. Is that still?
Yeah, it's still pretty close to that. And again, it's like, how far do you take the staging, right? So that also depends. Like, okay, did we just put new furniture in here? Was it empty and we put furniture in here? Did we utilize your own furniture and we bring in accessories? Did we bring in a painter? Did we replace flooring? Like, it just, like the levels, right? Like, how far are you willing to go? Affects like your money back. Like, yeah, if you replace things that need replacing, and you know, if you rip out the carpet and you put in new floors, you're gonna see your money returned on that. If you paint, you're gonna see your money returned. Yeah, if you just put in new furniture, yeah, you'll see money returned, but it's nowhere near what you would see if you replace things. But then conversely, that's a cost factor, right? If you just replace furniture, you're only looking at a couple $1,000s. If you are replacing elements of your home, that's, we're looking at 10 grand. Like, it just depends.
So an actual improvement is
actual home improvement
compared to furniture. Yeah.
Oh, of course, always. If you're changing something integral, structural to the house, like that stays with the house, that's obviously going to be a better return on your so it just depends, which is the hard thing.
Pigeons, I hate them. Okay. I've got a pigeon repellent on one side, and so now they're going to the other side. Today I went out and they were all on the pergola. I'm like, God, no.
Is that a spray? What is that? What is this pigeon repellent?
Oh, the pigeon thing, it's amazing. Because I have, for the last couple of years, just for some reason, they like to be up in the speaker and they do damage. So I tried a lot of things. This is a sound emitting device that I got from Paris. It was like $70, and it only affects pigeons, and it's just like a slight little beeping sound, and it works, but I only have one of them, and so I can see in the reflection that when they're up on the deck back there. I'm like a crazed person when I go running after them.
I don't blame you. I can only imagine what kind of mess they're making out there. Yuck.
Oh my God, I just like cleaned all the cushions, and I was having people over, and I look yesterday, I'm like, no!
Flying rats.
So anyway, I'm the pigeon patrol. I'm going to get more of those devices, I think.
Sounds like a good investment to me.
Seriously, it is. It is. Although I saw a really pretty cardinal out there earlier, so that was nice. Anyway, sorry for the disruption.
No, I mean, we're coming up on the hour, so I mean, if anybody has any last minute thoughts or just questions for anybody else in their field, if not, we can call it a wrap.
I mean,
Andy, thanks for putting it together. This is very helpful.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I would
Patrick.
say, I've been like blown away at how well realtors have been resilient in this whole thing and kept me busy, because I legitimately thought I was going to be like hearing crickets, and y'all have killed it. Well done.
I will piggyback on that comment. I am blessed to work with people like you. Like, you know, the realtor who does 4 transactions a year is, you know, obviously is not generally in our community unless the deals are really high end, just the way it is. But it's like realtors, their nature is to solve problems. They get things from A to Z. You know, now, you know, 4 months ago it was go through the alphabet, but now we're going like, well, A, C, Q, and we're still getting from A to Z. It's just we're taking a different route. So I'm blessed that people have, you know, problem solved so quickly, and now people seem to be getting into a little bit, you know, more you know, ebb and flow of their lives and their business. So it's just super cool to see. It's kind of like people had when we did that panel on pivoting in the pandemic, it was one of those things where, you know, people had this freak out moment for a week, 2 weeks. Well, I'm just going to wait till this dies down. Okay, 3 weeks. I better get my butt into gear, you know? So it's just super cool to see how, I don't know, you can make the argument that this is, even though we can't like physically be in front of each other, this has caused more connectivity than, you know, it was before, and people kind of crave it. So I will I do have one cool thing. Okay. Bless you, Caryl.
Not COVID.
Oh, it's hilarious. I love it. I will share one thing. I'm going to screen share real fast. So we have, and the partners kind of know this, we are launching an app. I'm super pumped. It is screen share, boom, check. This is like the behind the scenes of it. So the hard copy, we're not switching what we're doing. We're still sending the hard copy to the top 500 agents. When the events resume, we're still inviting the top 500 agents to the events, but all the agents in all the market will actually have the app. So the challenge for us was uploading all the past issues. So here it is. So if you go to Digipub right here, I don't know if you can see my mouse. Technically, it's kind of in the test phases. As you can see, July has not been uploaded yet. That's why there's not a check mark right there. But you can go in, poke around. If you touch like one of the partners' profiles, like on their ads or their brand spot, it'll do a little like profile on them, has their phone number, you can text and all that. So if you go on there, if you want to download it, I think you just choose, I should probably know how to do this. As you can see, I haven't played with it a lot myself. You just go to Illinois and then Chicago Row Producers. And we actually want you to tell us if there's glitches in it, or, hey, I clicked on this, the link didn't work, or stuff like that. So it's in the test phases, but I think it's really cool, something that we've sunk a chunk of change into, and we're just excited about it because it'll be on your phone, and you know, it's just a cool little layer to the platform. So I wish everybody a happy Friday. If you're interested in I'll send a follow-up email, but if you're interested in getting on another one of these, let me know. We can obviously shuffle the deck, you know, with different agents. And, you know, I find we invite 7 agents. Usually we'll have anywhere from 5 to 7. That's usually the sweet spot, because I've done them with 15 to 20 and just everybody wants to talk. So I have found, yeah, anywhere from like 6 to 12 is like a good sweet spot. So I appreciate everybody's time. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend. Okay.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Go get some cookies.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we will end with that.